Today's second video in our Business Interruption Claims series with Mike McGovern. Today, Mike is going to be giving us a high-level overview on business interruption claims and what to expect in the coming weeks as states start to reopen. As a reminder, if you have a question that you would like Mike to answer in regard to business interruption claims, please feel free to comment below or reach out to Mike directly. We do have his email listed in this post or at the end of this video. With that in mind, let's get started. Mike, can you give us an update on what you're hearing as states do start to reopen, what we should maybe expect or look out for?
So a lot of the discussions that we've had over the last 6 weeks with various people within the industry have centered on what businesses and what attorneys should be doing in order to ensure their businesses survive. And so what we've seen is within the various industries, just in terms of the general economy, is that most businesses have rushed to try and get their hands on some of the federal dollars, that PPP dollars, that Payroll Protection Program. It's had a little bit of a rocky rollout. You know, the initial funding was exhausted. It's now been supplemented, at least in part. So moving beyond that, that's when a lot of companies have really turned to looking at these business interruption policies. Industry-wide, what you're seeing is that a lot of the standard policies, they may not necessarily have coverage for virus and bacteria and may specifically be excluded. So what we're seeing is that there's a lot of different types of policies out there. So your standard policies are the ones that there's a specific exclusion, but there's question marks about some of these other policies as to whether that coverage may be available. And so business owners are going to be in for a fight because obviously the insurance carriers are looking to survive themselves.
And can you tell us a little bit more what policies or venues businesses are considering?
So what we're seeing, though, is an uptick in the prospects of D&O and E&O claims. And we'll talk about what those are in a second. We're also seeing a lot of activity in the MDL and class action arenas, as well as conversations and reading in the news about this Pandemic Risk Insurance Act. So D&O, directors and officers, may be increasing as a result of possibly some publicly traded companies and shareholders who may have actually been looking at the actions of some of these companies and actions that may or may not have been taken, and maybe looking to their D&O policies as some sort of recourse. There's also E&O, which would be errors and omissions, may see an increase as well, particularly against brokers where business owners may not have necessarily known that they were not covered for a pandemic or virus and bacteria until they went to go file a claim. But what MDL, which is multi-district litigation, really stands to do is to take bundles of policies and proceed through the federal courts in order to litigate larger issues. Whether class action or MDL is the appropriate venue in order to proceed with business interruption claims remains to be seen. From a damages perspective, no two business interruptions are alike, so we're really treating them uniquely. Whether you can aggregate them into a larger claim is something for the courts to decide. Each one is being measured individually, and that's really where we're using our experience of working on behalf of the carriers or preparing claims on behalf of the policyholders in order to dig into the details of each individual claim.
What is PREA?
So all this is set to the backdrop of PREA, which is the Pandemic Risk Insurance Act. and it's working its way through Congress. How likely is it to become law? I don't know. But basically what PREA does would be to essentially backstop a lot of the insurance carriers for payment of business interruption damages and other financial damages. So would Congress have the ability to step into existing contracts in the policy year that is already in place and in effect? Would it be reserved for future policy years? Are really some open questions. It really has the ability to turn the industry upside down, and I think I've heard it referred to as it's a whole new world if it does become the law of the land.
That's all for today's video. Again, if you do have questions that you would like to submit for Mike to answer on our next video or future videos, please feel free to comment below or email Mike directly at edmcgovern@glassratner.com. Until next time, stay safe.